What's up, y'all? NBA teams are protesting the shooting of Jacob Blake, but aren't athletes supposed to stick to sports? Oh, the irony. Well, let's talk about it as part of Hot Takes, and I have with me to do that my co-host Terrence and our good friend Marisa Delato. How's it going, you two?
Hey, Paris. Hey, Marisa.
Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. So, Terrence, your hot take is about the NBA. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So, of course, we all know that the playoffs are well underway right now. You know, NBA players, NBA teams are living their lives in their bubble. However, all of those things changed once the video surfaced of Jacob Blake being shot 7 times in the back, right? And so as a result of that, the NBA has canceled or postponed, as I should say, playoff games. Of course, once the NBA decided to go and bring the players to the bubble, one of the things that they agreed to was that players could protest. You know, they could be vocal about social injustices and all of these things, once they came to that space. So I personally appreciate the players who have spoken out. Of course, we've had players speak out before, like Kyrie Irving and many others. LeBron James also spoke out. But I also appreciate the fact that the teams themselves are saying, you know what, we're choosing to not do this, right? The Bucks were the first team to actually decide to not play. Of course, teams like the Raptors and the Celtics have posted things and, said in interviews, some players from the Raptors said in interviews that this has definitely been a topic that they've talked about. So yeah, I personally am glad to see it taking this step, athletes using their platforms, using this social space and demanding that action actually be done,
Mm-hmm. Terrence, it strikes me because I kind of first saw some rumblings of this last night when, some Celtics players were coming out and saying things like, it really feels such a disconnect to be here in the bubble and not being able to be out and take action right now.
Right.
Or LeBron James reacting to seeing the video and really strongly and saying, it seems like police go out with a motive. And essentially he was saying, why did it have to come to shooting this man 7 times, right? There had to be some other way to subdue him if that's really what needed to happen.
I know people get tired of hearing me say it, but we are scared as Black people in America. Black men, Black women, Black kids, we are terrified. Because you don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea how that cop that day left the house. You don't know if he woke up on the good side of the bed. You don't know if he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You don't know if he had an argument at home with a significant other. You know, if one of his kids said something crazy to him and he left the house steaming. Or maybe he just left the house saying that today is going to be the end for one of these Black people. That's what it feels like.
I think we're really seeing now that there is this bridge between, it's not just about being an athlete anymore, at least for some of these athletes, right? It's about, in many cases, it's about I'm a Black man and I'm an athlete. And you need to understand the complexity of where those two intersect.
Right.
Terrence, I think that's a great point. I know Sterling Brown, who's one of the players on the Bucks, he had a very negative altercation with the police. For them, they're not seen as, an athlete. That's not what they're going to be seen as by cops. They're going to be seen as Black men. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how famous they are, what they're doing. They're still going to have those experiences. And I think, to have to play, to have to work while you're going through something so personal and seeing something that could have easily happened to you happen, I think it's really admirable, but that they're taking care of themselves by speaking out. And I think, unfortunately, something we're going to be seeing is people being like, are you kidding me? Like, I just got sports back after, we had sports for a while from the coronavirus, and people are so happy to finally have this escape. And I feel if you're watching this and you're feeling that way, you're losing the ability to watch a game. These people are losing their lives.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point, Marisa.
Being killed. Like, measure your loss. If you're feeling a loss of any kind, think about what other people are feeling and experiencing. I think that's what people need to focus on right now.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, Marissa, because like you said, people are like, sports are usually the thing that we can all come together and be around and say, look, this is a unifying, universal thing for us, right? But even in recent years, we know that sports has gotten political. So much so that many people have been saying, oh, athletes, stick to sports, shut up and dribble. We all remember when Laura Ingraham said that to LeBron James, right? And so that brings us to my hot take, which is about Herschel Walker, a former NFL player who was invited to speak at the RNC this week. And he got up there in defense of President Trump to say, you know what, he's not a racist. I've heard all people call President Trump all these names, but one of them that he is not is a racist. And people really were like, now, wait a minute, Herschel Walker, number one, like, seems like you're being used as a pawn, as like, let's bring our black friend to the RNC to speak here. But secondly, it is so ironic to me that we're saying that we heard some of the same people saying, athletes, stick to sports, stay out of politics. But then you have a former athlete at the RNC. Now, come on now.
This is really just a prime example of people picking and choosing when blackness is valuable. Let's just say the Republican National Convention. Let's just say that. Picking and choosing when Black lives are important. For me, I was not surprised just because I feel like there's always that one person or those two people, Silk and Diamond, who always just seem to come
not
up.
To name names, but
not to point any elbows, but it's like they always seem to find those people who are willing to say what they want them to say and use their blackness as an aesthetic to connect with people and to show that they aren't racist or aren't problematic. And at this point, it's like, girl, we know who you are and you can get whoever you want, but it's not gonna read. It's not gonna come across authentic. We see it, we know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Terrence, I think that's a really genius point. For me, it really reminded me to the beginning of this resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement that we were seeing, early this spring, and when the protests started to become riots and you started to see this real vehement action in the streets, and people were saying, what about protesting peacefully? And it's like, well, athletes have tried to protest peacefully for years by kneeling during the national anthem, and actors and actresses have tried to use their platforms like during award speeches, and they've been told, keep politics out of it, keep politics out of it. But then, and then people try to protest in a way that's not peaceful, and they're told, why can't you do it peacefully? And so it's kind of like people, you're going to be told that when they just don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Exactly. At some point, it becomes less about the messenger and about the message, it seems. Speaking of platform and politics, Marisa, your hot take really comes at the intersection of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the past few months, Claudia Conway, who is the 15-year-old daughter of former senior White House advisor Kellyanne Conway, and George Conway, who is the co-founder leader of the Lincoln Project, a Never Trump group of conservatives who are trying to help Joe Biden get elected. She's been going kind of viral on TikTok and Twitter. She's extremely leftist, despite the beliefs of both her parents. Posting in support of Black Lives Matter, a ton of anti-Trump content, even though she's literally been in the White House and met him. This all kind of came to a head a few days ago when she announced that she would be seeking emancipation from her family. And a lot of people were quick to applaud her because both of her parents decided to step down from their very powerful political ranks to focus on their family, kind of forgetting that she had also spoken about being abused at home. She had said that Kellyanne had had her arrested before. She's also spoken about some mental health issues that she's had. And so for me, it's there's a great piece by Miles Klee, who writes for Mo Magazine, if anyone would like to read about this further. People kind of like yas queening this 15-year-old for getting her parents taken down from their roles in an administration that they don't agree with, when she's just a child looking for help. And I think people need to remember that when, supporting her and in this case, actually putting politics aside, even though it's an extremely political situation, being like, this is a child who needs help. I don't know if you guys have seen this on your Twitter feeds.
Yeah. Well, let me just say that it always struck me that Kellyanne Conway and George Conway were somehow making it work when Kellyanne Conway was in the White House and George Conway was like a vehement opponent of President Trump, right? So I'm kind of, on the one hand, I'm kind of like, what in the world is going on in this house, right? But it's so fascinating that they're taking a step back from the spotlight and saying, you know, we need to focus on family issues. In so many ways, that does say to me, like, yeah, there's a lot going on in this house, right? And of course, you haven't been caught in the crosshairs as a child, right? Even though she's a teenager, 15, she's talking about emancipating herself.
Very young
child. Yeah. And if they can figure it out, I think they should write a handbook for many families around America who are really struggling with being on different sides of the aisle.
I think that's more common than we think it is, right? Because if you just think about generational differences, you know, so many things are different from my perspective than my parents, and I'm sure you both probably can agree, right? Yeah. And so when it comes to politics, for a lot of families, especially in this moment, that is a hard conversation. I've seen so many TikToks of kids telling their parents, you know, support this, support Black Lives Matter, support this. And their parents like grill them harshly or reprimand them harshly, you know, and really try to silence how they're feeling and what their political viewpoints are. And, you know, sadly, again, this is a situation that is so public with her. So I'm just hoping that, again, politics aside, that she gets the help that she needs and deserves, and, you know, continues to, once she's ready, stay steadfast in what she believes and what she's working towards.
Good luck to Claudia.
Yes, good luck, and good luck to everybody out there who's trying to figure it out. And if you need to take a break, take a break. Absolutely. Well, that's it for us. For all of you watching, thanks so much for joining the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to all our social channels, and let us know what you'd like to see on the show or what's popping up on your timelines. We'll see you next time. And until then, Marisa and Terrence, what should they do?
Keep it social. Bye, friends.